I don't deal with death well. Fred Faour, I look at him as a friend of far, and his passing hit me because he was real close with another friend, my family, Lesbian Craig, Craig Shelton, or his real name, Rodney Walker. They were real close. They were real close, and it, it's really, it's really a subject, a topic of opposites attracts. I go back again. I deal with death a little bit different. I don't want people to be calling and telling me, your condolences and I'm sorry and all of this type of shit. If I'm going through it, you better off just not saying shit to me at all. If you tell me, to push forward, that's good. That's good. But don't be telling me, I'm gonna be happy. I'm not. I'm not gonna be happy. One of my motherfuckers died. Fred, Fred and Craig, man. And it just so happened that these dudes died around the same. I think Craig passed 2 years ago, 2012, March the 12th, and Fred was March the 14th or March the 15th. They was in close proximity. Craig was not a person. I'm not going to make this about Craig, man. Let's move on from Craig. Let's move on from Craig. Craig was my dude, man, and he loved. He really loved Fred Faour. When we started HMW, I was very raw in the writing, man. The way you see me on Twitter, fucking up the English language. That was the way I was on. That was the way I was writing. A lot of grammatical errors and everything. And Craig. Craig came from a background. He did debate, he did speech, he did all. I mean, he did the rapping and all that type of stuff. He was just telling me how to do things. But I came from an IT background. I came from an IT and math background, so I was like, nah, man, I want to do it this way. It was always tension between me and Craig. One day, Craig sends me an article from the Houston Chronicle that this dude named Craig knew who Fred Fowler was. I didn't. He was like, say man, Fred Fowler, highlighted you and blah blah blah. Like, oh damn. Fred had some kind of piece where he was like highlighting, you know, different bloggers, talents and shit, and he kept it real. He kept it real. Like, this dude is very raw, but he got something. He got something. I read, and I was getting kind of happy. I never really looked at the financial benefit of HMW or anything like that. I was just like, Craig's my dude. We family. He and my family. You know, his nephew is my cousin, and we real deep in the family. So I'm gonna ride with him. That's what it was. Later on, you know, after the HMW stuff started kicking off, and this is very important, man, because now that I go back and look at it, it kind of makes sense. At the same time, the nosebleeds with Manny, Dale, and Dustin was revving up. They were revving up, and they was getting like interviews and stuff. So a lot of people just want to. Oh man, I ain't gonna go through all of that. I ain't gonna go through all of that. But this was all that was going on. When all of this that was going on, people was telling me same because HMW had this reputation that we just gonna I don't know why people did this, that they just thought that we was just going to go hammer people for being bad, or we was just gonna go after them negatively. It was not about that. The whole premise of HMW was here was the whole premise of HMW. We are going to look at the media the same way the media look at the professional athletes. That was the whole premise. Bottom line, that was it. All of the shit that the media say about professional athletes, we gonna say it about them. That was the whole thing, man. That was the whole thing. It was not going. It was not about going out and getting anybody, or you know, gotcha and all this type of stuff. We were saying we was just gonna do the same shit that y'all do to them. Do to the professional athletes. However, a lot of people, I guess because we had, negative articles, but we had positive articles too. But a lot of people told me to start looking at this show called The Blitz with AJ and with AJ Hoffman and Fred Faour. That's all right then. I'm gonna look at them. That wasn't really my ESPN 97.5. Wasn't really my cup of tea back then. I was all like 16 and 790, but then I started listening to them. The one thing that stood out to me was that you know these are two big burly white dudes, and they sound the same. It took me about 2 or 3 weeks to get their voice. I crept, I crept and listened to them silently without saying anything. Then I was like, man, these dudes are kind of good. I mean, they talking like dudes, man. They talk like real dudes. They don't got no stake in the game. They don't got the three teams behind, the three big professional teams behind them. They on Cumulus Radio from 12 to 2 in the middays. They was having fun and talking TV and talking like real dudes talk. And then I came out of I wrote a couple of articles here and there, and I was like, say man, I kind of like this show, man. And then I started contributing to the show. And then when I started contributing to the show, I started telling people gonna lie right now and say that they was already listening before Lamont brought them in there, but Lamont brought them in there. I told a whole shit ton of people. I'm talking about, I'm sorry, before Fred and AJ got with ESPN when they was still with Cumulus. I was the one that got a lot of people in there because I was interacting with them and telling them all of that, and that's a fact, Jack. Mm. So I would talk to them all the time, and I started interacting. We had our back and forths, and I just realized this dude was a cool dude. But Fred, man, Fred was real. Fred and AJ is nice. Fred and AJ is nice, man. They play it straight, man. If you full of shit, they gonna call you full of shit. That's how they do it. They ain't trying to. They ain't trying to sugarcoat or anything. Say, man, I have been accused of saying that you on Fred and AJ's dick. I was like, nah, man, I really don't even much care about that, man. I like the dudes, man, because the dudes talk like real dudes, man. They ain't trying to be all of this, fun white boy shit. Fun white boy shit, trying to be cool. These dudes are like real dudes, man. I mean, real dudes that you can go to the bar and sit down with and talk. Fred, Fred helped me out. I say when Fred helped me out, I reached out to Fred Faour, and asked him, since Fred and I both graduated from U of H. Fred is a little bit, well, he's a lot older than me. He's about 15 years older than me. And I was asking him about creative writing or writing skills, and he gave me resources to go look into over at U of H Central, and I tapped into them. But then Fred also gave me the opportunity. I want to say not Houston Sports Map or anything like that, but Fred had another website where he let me write on that website for almost like I want to say 1.5 years, and Fred was shooting me money, man. I mean, it was gas money, back when gas was like $1.50, reasonable shit. It was real good, man. It was vodka money and everything. Me and Fred was cool, but if I said something out of line on his show or on a text on Twitter and shit, Fred would call me out. Call me out. In the midst of that, in the midst of that, I ended up befriending his brother, John. Me and John ended up being tight. Fred brought a lot of people together, man. It's kind of weird. It's kind of bizarre. He brought a lot of people together. The fact that the fact that him and Craig was so tight is crazy to me. Because if you know Craig, man, if you know Craig, Craig was like, uh, Craig is my dude. Craig is my dude, but he wasn't so friendly with white people, man. Let me say it just like that. Craig was not so friendly with white people. He tell you exactly what the fuck is on his mind, how he feel about you, and everything. That was the way Craig was, but for some reason, with with Fred, he loved Fred. Him and Fred was about to get ready and do a Netflix special. No, I'm saying it wrong. They was not about to get ready and do a Netflix special. They had all of this in the workings and stuff. Fred was gonna pitch it. This is why Craig was out there fishing and stuff down there in Galveston and Matagorda Bay and stuff. They was about to get ready and pitch this show to Netflix and stuff. But uh, Fred and Fred and Craig was like real cool. Fred, Fred, he was a real good guy, man. He was a real good guy, and it kind of fucks with me. It kind of fucks with me when I go back and listen to his last couple of podcasts, and he go listen to his last couple of podcasts, and he was talking, and I know a lot of people now are probably going back to listen to it, but I was with Fred since he launched that podcast. When he launched that podcast, he was doing it with Jermaine, and he was doing it with AJ, different guests. He even asked me to come in there a couple of times, and I was like, you know, because my work schedule is kind of different right now, and I got my grandson, and things is kind of different. And then what really fucks me up about with Fred is that he was big upping me on him and Jerry's podcast, the gambling podcast that they just put out, and he was like, "I want Lamont to come in here. He got to be the first person." And I was working at the time, and I'm listening, and I'm working, and I'm typing this stuff, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna get to it next week. And then AJ come out with that, you know, that information. Yeah, Fred is my dude, man. I don't know him. I don't know him to the point to know everything that was going on in his life. I know he drink just like me. I know he drink just like me. Smoke a whole bunch of dope. Smoke a whole bunch of dope, but he was a good guy, man. He was a good guy. And like I said before, I'm not gonna be doing all this pussy shit about condolences and shit like that. Fred wanted to have fun. He wanted you to laugh at his. He wanted you to laugh. But I will tell his family, like I said before, it's gonna be brighter. It's gonna be brighter. Kind of fucks with me, man. else can you say? Death is a motherfucker. I believe. I believe. I need some fix right here. I believe. I'm just gonna go and say it. I don't know. I don't know what happened at ESPN. AJ became the program director. Honestly, I felt that that job should have been Jung's. That's just me. However, AJ and Fred went on like a 2 year run, and they was dominating the ratings. They was winning. I probably got my timeline kind of wrong because I'm kind of thinking that this happened before before AJ became the program director. That's here or there. That doesn't make any sense. COVID, COVID hit in 2020. Everybody started, everybody had to work at home, and I used to always, because AJ was all about working at home and staying at home and don't do this and don't do that, and I was like, AJ, man, what the fuck? What the fuck, man? I mean, you in media, you need sponsors. You telling people not to even go places. Later, later, AJ kind of acquiesced to what I was saying. Probably about a year later. So definitely after he was gone, I was like, man, that doesn't make sense. COVID ruined the Blitz. When COVID happened, they brought in Josh Ennis, and Josh Ennis was working for free, and it kind of gave them a shot in the arm, man, because they did they whole thing with the bum liquor, the cheap ass liquor, and they was doing it on Fridays, and not 610 tried to replicate it in some kind of way with MD 2020. Yeah, I'm not going to even get into that. But that was the beginning of the end for them. You know, I think, I think, man, it's hard to say this, but I think with Craig, losing his son to violence, and I think with Fred losing AJ to Las Vegas, it ruined them, man. It ruined them. Hey, taking this back to Fred. The only reason I say this about Fred is because I listen to those podcasts. Man, Fred will sound like Fred sound like he Fred sounded like he missed AJ more than his wife. He sounded like he was just a broken man without AJ, man. It it was wild. You could see it. It was like a buddy cop movie or some shit, man. It was it was like not being with AJ. Pretty much took him down. In other words, what I'm trying to say is, if AJ was still with Fred, I think that Fred would still be alive. I'll tell you one further. I wouldn't even put it past that Fred would have probably eventually moved out to Las Vegas. Fred looked at AJ as like a little bitty, it's like a brother. Man, just go look at the podcast, man. He cries. I mean, he missed AJ. He missed AJ. He missed AJ. That's all I gotta say, man.